Okay,
Wow.
This is a dream from one of our producers, Pam. She said, it was me, Jen James, who's the producer for Marcus and Joni, and some other people that I don't recall. We were in a room watching a flat screen TV during Refreshing Times conference, waiting for one of the roll-ins to start playing. The screen starts to malfunction, and then all of a sudden a feed comes up, and it's the White House. You could see the Washington Mall, some other monuments, cars in a parking lot. The feed was wavy, not very strong, but it was in color. So we're looking at each other like, what? What is going on? And immediately in my head, I'm thinking, okay, here we go. It's happening. It's starting. It's the last of the last days. Antichrist, one world government, etc. Then all of a sudden, this big bulldozer bulldozes through the parking lot of cars and right through the White House, just like it was a deck of cards. So we start praying in the Spirit immediately. And she woke up.
Wow.
Wow. Well, that dream, that particular dream is obviously a dream about the last days, so it tends to be more on the vision side of things, even though there's symbolism in it. The great thing is this, the bulldozer. Now, you may not think the bulldozer is a great thing. The great thing is the bulldozer, because you're seeing man's plans, and you're seeing God saying, but I have a plan that will bulldoze right through the plans of men.
Yay.
There is, and it's the fact that it wasn't really clear, it was kind of fuzzy, indicates that none of this is for sure. That there's plans of men that change because people react certain ways, people pray and so on. But God says, in essence, pray that my bulldozer comes in and goes right through the middle of this mess, and everything gets leveled out. It's like I will take down the plans of men, and I'm going to raise up my plans. But I have to take down the plans of men first. So very important dream, especially a dream to pray about.
So any significance to being the fact that we're watching Refreshing Times conference?
Yes, thank you. The Refreshing Times conference, basically the reason why you saw it in the setting was in a Refreshing Times conference, is that God's reminding you, I have a plan. That is, the bulldozer says, I'm going to bulldoze through this, and Refreshing Times will come, but there's certain things that have to be taken down and other things that are going to be built up. And so the Refreshing Times says, it's not the conference, it's the title of the conference that says, I want to refresh America, but it's going to take some bulldozing in order for that to happen.
Wow, that is awesome.
Some great news. I don't know if any of you have heard yet, but apparently Donald Trump has accepted Christ. Now, this is something that happened within the recent past, but it was only revealed yesterday from an interview with Dr. James Dobson from Focus on the Family, or at least he used to be part of Focus on the Family not too long ago. Actually, maybe it's been a while now, but he used to be the head of Focus on the Family, and you've probably heard of that organization. But he mentions in this interview that a close friend of his, someone that he trusts, said that he had actually led Donald Trump in a prayer of faith to believe in Jesus Christ as a Savior. So this is interesting news, you know, and of course a lot of people might not readily believe that right off the bat. And they kind of compare it to Saul of Tarsus, who became the Apostle Paul. When Saul first converted, a lot of people didn't exactly believe that he converted. Let's listen to a little snippet of this interview so you can hear it for yourself.
I'm here with Dr. James Dobson. Dr. Dobson, great to see you. Great to have you here.
It's been a wonderful day.
What's your impressions about today?
I feel like it was historic. Only God knows where we're headed as a nation, but this gathering of God's people, sincerely, actually on their knees, 1,000 people praying together, that's a good thing.
Have you seen anything like this in your years of ministry?
Never. No.
Never.
No. I'm sure it's occurred, but not that I've seen.
What would you want a listener to come away with? You and I were here today for the whole event. What would you want to say to a listener?
Well, of course, Donald Trump was here, and we were genuinely seeking the Lord's direction in the things that he said. He's sometimes kind of obscure in the way he answers questions, and we wanted to ask him directly and then follow-up questions and so on. We got a chance to do that, and I was in a smaller group this morning at Trump Tower. And
you got to meet with him first, didn't you?
I did, and got a chance to interact with him. And he's soft. He's a lot nicer guy than you realize.
That's what struck me today.
Yeah.
It was a gentler Trump than I'd seen. It was a little bit. I was a little bit taken aback by that in a good way.
Well, I was too, and I think he is listening. There are a lot of people ministering to him personally. A lot of ministers who are not. He did accept a relationship with Christ. I know the person who led him to Christ.
Really?
And that's fairly recent.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How recent, roughly?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, yes.
I don't know when it was, but it has not been long.
Wow.
And I believe he really made a commitment, but he's a baby Christian. We all need to be praying for him, especially if there's a possibility of him being our next chief
That's huge.
executive officer.
That's huge.
And I think that he's open. He doesn't know our language. We had 40 Christians together with him, and he used the word hell 4 or 5 times. He doesn't know our language. He really doesn't. And he refers a lot to religion and not much to faith and belief.
It's interesting that you say that. I'm sure the Saul, when he became Paul, didn't know much of the language either.
Yeah, well, you got to cut him some slack. He didn't grow up like we did.
Yeah.
And I think there's hope for him. And I think there's hope for us. I have great concerns about the next election.
Very concerning. Dr. Dobson, thank you so much.
You're a good man. Thank you for saying hello.
God bless you.
Okay.
In a recent interview, Donald Trump explains who Jesus is to him. He was asked, "Who do you say Jesus is?" He said, "Jesus to me is somebody I can think about for security and confidence." He also said, "Somebody I can revere in terms of bravery and in terms of courage, and because I consider the Christian religion so important, somebody I can totally rely on in my own mind." He was recently asked in an interview if he'd ever asked for forgiveness.
I just got one more, because you used the word Christian. Have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
That's a tough question. I don't think in terms of, I'm a religious person. Shockingly, because people are so shocked when they find this out, I'm Protestant, I'm Presbyterian. And I go to church and I love God and I love my church.
But have you ever asked God for forgiveness?
I'm not sure I have. I just go and try and do a better job from there. I don't think so. I think if I do something wrong, I think I just try and make it right. I don't bring God into that picture. I don't. But in terms of officially, I could say absolutely, and everybody. I don't think in terms of that. I think in terms of let's go on and let's make it right.
See, it sounds like Donald Trump is trusting in his works to get him to heaven. I mean, the first thing you got to realize is that we have all sinned and come short of the glory of God, and our righteousness, our self-righteousness, is as filthy rags. But we are all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousnesses are as filthy rags. And we all do fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away. So we need to pray that, Donald Trump will come to know the true gospel and believe on the Lord Jesus Christ and get saved. But, right now it sounds like he's trusting in his works to get him to heaven, and our works, or his filthy rags, they mean nothing. When asked about that interview that we just saw, asked if he had a change of heart on the issue, he said, "I will be asking for forgiveness, but hopefully I won't have to be asking for much forgiveness." Again, he's self-righteous. So we need to pray that, Donald Trump will realize that all his good works mean nothing. There's filthy rags. We need to realize that we're all sinners and have come short of the glory of God. Just pray that he comes to know the truth on this issue, and we'll get saved. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. And if you're new, be sure to subscribe to our channel. And also, be sure to watch the Heaven or Hell video. Are you 100% sure that I have on my channel? It's linked in the description box below. And if you've watched it, be sure to share it with somebody else. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching.
Last night saw the climax of the Battle of the Boomers, Hillary versus Bernie. Hillary Clinton is now declared by all and sundry the Democratic choice for president to have slain Bernie, the magic dragon Sanders. And Bernie seems to be the only one who doesn't know he's done. Even so, it took the mighty forces of the legendary Clinton machine more than it ever thought possible to put a halt to the Bernie insurgency, the last lingering flare of the great counterculture movement of the 60s. True to form, Bernie is going to keep on trucking, but it's a shadow game now. It is questionable whether Western civilization will be able to endure what is now about to fall when Clinton the calculator has to go center stage against Trump unplugged. It's going to be the political equivalent of WrestleMania's cage matches. Not incidentally, where Donald Trump, in the days of his tamer hair, schooled himself on tactics and demeanor. Let's get ready to rumble indeed. American democracy is now at that curious stage in which two of the most untrusted people in public life, two with the greatest unlikability standards, are presented as the choice for their highest and most revered office. The American electorate is in the position of a dedicated vegophobe, being offered the choice between Brussels sprouts and broccoli. Hillary has the charm of a steel brush, and Trump the manners of a severely irritated cobra. Trump is all scorch and burn. He's a lava flow with a microphone. Hillary, with Bill, it's impossible to think of Hillary without Bill. They're a unit. Hillary is ambition-possessed and ruthless. Combat between these two will enter into areas of malice, calculation, dirty tricks, press management, deceit, personal attack, and outrageous pandering that drowns all previous comparison. Between these two, the whole continent of North America may not provide enough mud for them to sling. They may have the contract out. Trump's running for president is probably a surprise for him, even an afterthought, while Hillary has thought of nothing else since her university days, hers the longest audition in American civil life. How did American politics come to this pass when the world's most successful democracy is offered such a beggar's choice for its highest office? There's a catalog of reasons. The professionalization of politics with its pollsters, image consultants, marketers, and insane levels of fundraising. The gap between the politicos and the public an afterthought in the rage for victory and its spoils. The emergence of a partisan press on both sides. The toxic thought suffocations of political correctness. And mainly, a great distrust of the entire system of politics. It's a harrowing thought that American presidential politics has been whittled down to such a precarious selection, when in the absence of trust and likability, most Americans, not all, see the coming contest as a forced march to choose the lesser evil. For The National, I'm Rex Murphy.
The very word secrecy is repugnant.
Papers said that are very secret.
Repugnant. in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned. No secret is revealed.
You will find out who really knocked down the World Trade Center because they have papers in there that are very secret.
We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions.
When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Why do you think George Soros and his organizations like MoveOn.org, these NGOs, why do you think they finance these types of protests? Why do you think Hillary Clinton helps to launch and cascade these types of events that are anti-Trump and anti-Bernie Sanders? Because social chaos is power. It's a tool of the elites. That's why there's this massive movement, and there's even more aggressive protests planned in the not-too-distant future leading up to the GOP convention, I believe, in July, which I think is also taking place in Ohio. Massive protests, civil unrest, and disobedience planned, which has already resulted in absolute disrespectable violence in places like Chicago, where Trump had to cancel his campaign because, again, social chaos is a means to an end. It's a measurement of control.
What's going on Facebook? It's B. Tatum. I'm making this video to give you guys some insight on my experience at a Donald Trump rally. The reason that I wanted to go is because I don't want to believe what other people tell me, because sometimes through media, through other people, it can be very disingenuous, or you could be talking to or getting a perspective from somebody who is very, very uninformed. So I had an opportunity. Donald Trump came to Tucson, Arizona, where I live, and came and did a rally here, and I had an opportunity to go, so I went. Some people probably would disagree with that, but, you know, the Lord on my side, so I'm okay with going there because I know I'll be all right. Went in there, very, very shocking. I wasn't expecting what I saw. I had no idea that I was going to leave that event with the thought process and experience that I obtained. I just had no idea. Starting from the beginning, went to the walking in the line, waiting to get in. Saw a couple of people peacefully protesting. They had signs up. You know, it actually gave me an opportunity to read the signs. I looked at them. I took pictures of them. I was able to see their point of view. When you get closer to the door, I couldn't take pictures. I couldn't do video because they were pushing us through, because people were verbally violent at the door, yelling, saying F Donald Trump. I mean, being outrageous. Very, very uncomfortable feeling. I mean, people were directly yelling at me as if I'm a criminal. And all I'm trying to do is just hear what the man have to say. I didn't wear anything supporting Donald Trump. I was very neutral with this black shirt and khakis on. When I got inside, you know, it was peaceful. Initially, the shocking thing is that everybody seemed to be peaceful. There wasn't a lot of hatred and maliciousness going on and lashing out at the protesters. Initially, there was nothing like that. And I didn't get that impression at all. But the thing that stood out to me was these protesters. I mean, from the door, and then some of them snuck inside, And a funny thing that I don't know, the media don't cover this, but Donald Trump actually paid to rent that facility to make it a private event. Therefore, by law, he reserved the right to keep people out at his discretion. So he's not violating constitutional rights when he was kicking people out. And I can say this point blank, that he didn't randomly kick people out. A lot of times it wasn't really him that was even addressing these people. Before he ever came out, they made an announcement and said, you are not to harm protesters. You are not to get in a physical altercation with them, that the security staff will escort them out. And that was another thing that I didn't see portrayed. I don't see portrayed in the media, is that they gave a disclaimer and said, don't hurt these people. You don't need to do this. So moving forward during the event, I mean, these people were acting a fool. I'm talking about cussing and screaming. You guys seen some pictures. There was somebody wearing a Ku Klux Klan hat saying F Donald Trump, flipping people off. The group that I posted were yelling F Donald Trump in front of these kids. You had families down there. I seen this one lady covering her daughter's ears because these people are just outlandish and out of control. And I'm a police officer, and I have been through a lot of dramatic situations. And I have to be honest, I felt very uncomfortable there. I mean, there was a lot of police officers there or whatever, but I felt uncomfortable. I felt like at any moment with the climate of these protesters, this wasn't the people that was involved in Trump's rally. It was these protesters that at any moment I could get sucker punched by somebody because they're just outrageously screaming and yelling and not really saying anything but hateful slurs, calling them a racist, calling people that were involved racists and haters. And the funny thing is, these people are the most hateful, evil people that I've ever seen. I could not believe what I saw. Moving forward, Donald Trump got up and, he gained my respect. He didn't say anything hateful against anybody. He didn't say anything prejudiced. I didn't hear any of that. I didn't hear any tones of that. I didn't get that perception from the people who were following him. Everybody was just excited for what he had to say. And I think he said a lot of positive things. And I think his character is a lot different than what you will perceive it to be in the media. He spoke about immigration very, very vividly. And he talked about he don't have problems with immigration and that he just have a problem with illegal immigration. He talked about building that wall that he so famously talks about. I didn't see anything negative. He didn't talk about Muslims and hating Muslim people and stuff like that. I mean, he addressed radical Islam and he made his statement on that. He talked about very bluntly how people are ignorant and not doing the right job in leadership positions in this country and what he would do to fix it. I was very impressed that he wasn't a crazy psychopath like some would say, and I kind of was expecting him to be a little more radical than what he was presenting himself as. And I also expected people to be a lot more aggressive towards these protesters than what they were. I mean, I didn't see anybody. I saw two incidents that happened. One, a protester was acting a plumb fool. He goes up the walkway while they're escorting him out. And I don't know if he spit on this guy or hit him, but he got his tail kicked and stomped. I saw it. So he was asking for that one. He saw it to somebody and he lost the battle. That's what happens. So I don't count that against a Trump follower. And who knows, that guy may not even been a Trump follower. He may have just been there like me trying to get more information. And the other thing that I saw was it was an older guy and his kid was holding a racist flag saying that Trump was a racist and had all these slurs on it. And the guy took his flag, balled it up, and it wasn't an American flag. It was like a white makeshift flag he got, balled it up and threw it over the balcony part. That was the only thing that I saw that I was like, okay, that guy kind of acted out of control. But you know what's funny is the media will take a picture of that and hang on to that when there was 1,000 other people that should have been kicking these people's tails because they were all in people's faces and everything. It was crazy. But they were restrained and it wasn't violence. The violence was coming from these protesters that they eventually kicked out. Some they couldn't even kick out. They were locking arms and they were yelling probably 60% of Trump's, of his speech. I mean, he ignored them and he turned around and addressed them a couple times, but he, for the most part, ignored them, which is not really portrayed in the media. So that was my perception, man. I was very, very shocked that in the disingenuous perception of Donald Trump and these followers being these hateful people, You know, I had no problems with when I was there. I'm an African American man. I had no problems with people going against me and trying to hurt me and want to kick me out because I'm not doing nothing. No, these people were acting fools. Some of them were African. Most of them were African Americans acting a fool. I'm talking about cussing and screaming and getting in people's faces, acting a fool. That's what these people were doing. I'm talking about tackling people. It was a guy trying to walk up the staircase. They were grabbing his legs. I mean, it was a crap show. I'm surprised that people weren't. I thought at some point it was going to be a full-fledged riot because these people were acting so outrageous until you were just thinking that somebody was going to lose their temper and it was going to be a full brawl. Or like somebody was going to run up on me and just punch me in the head because they're trying to prove a point about Donald Trump. That's how crazy this stuff was. And I didn't feel safe sometimes. I was a little nervous. I was watching my back like, I don't know what these fools gonna do in here, man. And they were crazy.
That was a very interesting video there with Brandon Tatum, the police officer who was not a Trump supporter whatsoever. He went there just to see, just to give him a fair shake, just to hear what he had to say. He didn't want to just judge someone based on what the media portrayed him as. And he went to this event, and, at first it seemed like the protesters were peaceful, at least on the outside. But when he started to get near coming into the convention, while he was in line, he was verbally attacked on a massive level. It sounded like he was also saying, I think he said in another spot, which I didn't play, there might have been even some racial slurs towards him, like he was one of those tomboys, because he's supporting Donald Trump, although he didn't actually support him. He was just going there to hear what Trump had to say. And it was very interesting how he was talking about these protesters. It sounds to me like they're hired to do this. This doesn't sound like the standard protester. These people sound like they were put there on purpose and to cause a riot so that could be used against Donald Trump, that could be portrayed in the media as, look, Donald Trump, look at his followers, they're just a bunch of riotous people. But of course, instead, what we find out is Donald Trump supporters are very self-controlled, and it was just these protesters that were causing so much trouble. And this policeman was flabbergasted. He was shocked at what he saw. He was just amazed. And it sounds like he thinks a lot higher of Donald Trump now that he's actually went and heard him for himself rather than listening to the media. And I wanted to kind of cover this because this whole topic of Donald Trump, because I've actually went back and forth more than once on the guy. I actually supported him a little bit back before in the last election. In the last election, when he was running, he didn't get very far, but he was running and he was in the primaries, didn't get very far along, and he started talking about Obama's birth certificate, and apparently that didn't work out to his advantage. Not enough people were really behind that whole thing, that whole conspiracy of the birth certificate. But, people didn't really take him too seriously. But as you can see, clearly he is his own man. And maybe it's not so apparent to some people. At first I was thinking he was controlled opposition, but the more I researched him, the more I realized that this guy, he's speaking his own mind. And it's not just, on the observational level that I can tell he's speaking his own mind. The fact that he has a multi-billion-dollar business that's at stake, him running in this manner and saying such blatant things as he's said, such politically incorrect things that he's said, is definitely not going to help his business. Okay, generally speaking, you wouldn't expect it to. And he was saying this stuff way before he became popular. Matter of fact, this stuff is what made him popular. And the psychology behind the technique is very intriguing. Basically, the idea is the more media coverage you get, the more popular you get, whether or not you say things people necessarily agree with. And Donald Trump played the controversy card, so he kept saying controversial things, And I actually believe he actually thinks these things, but maybe he put them out more in a showman way to get some real edge to it, to where the media would want to cover it or actually have to cover it. It's sort of like these YouTube videos that I make. If you have a shocking or controversial topic that you cover on a video, it gets more play. People click on it, they want to listen to it. So obviously, when you have a newspaper or you have a cable station, or ABC, NBC, or whatever, Fox News, CNN, when there's some controversial story, it's the best story to throw up on the big screen for people to watch. And if Donald Trump says something controversial, well, he's going to be the one on the TV. And even if it's something that a significant amount of people wouldn't like what he had to say, the fact that it was so controversial, he gets the media time, he gets the play time on TV. And according to statistics I've seen, the more time you get in on the TV and in news and print, the more popular you get, even if you don't say the things everybody likes. So this is how he actually did it. And I think part of it also is just he played the non-political correct card. He's just saying what people were thinking. People were thinking these things in their head. Not everybody, of course, but a lot of people were really thinking these things, but they knew that they couldn't say them because they're taboo. So Donald thought, hey, I'll just say them, It doesn't make him a racist that he's against Islam, Islam is a religion, not a race. And that's what, we have to use some common sense here. You can see what political correctness has done for Europe. It hasn't done anything good. It hasn't done anything good here either. It's just destroying the West. Political correctness was designed by communists to destroy the West. That was the intent of political correctness. It was because they couldn't attack the Western nations from the outside and conquer them. They figured they would conquer them from the inside, and that's what political correctness is for, to destroy Western values. You may have noticed a few videos against Donald Trump within the truther community, people who think he's a shill, controlled opposition. I was actually leaning towards that when I first started researching him. And actually, when I started to create this video, I was leaning towards him being controlled opposition. But actually, the more I research him and the more I listen to him, the more I think he's not controlled opposition. And I can present actually a case as to how he cannot be controlled opposition, because a lot of people think the elite own everybody. With the case of Donald Trump, let me just present a few things that I've noticed, okay? As a fellow businessman, I actually understand a few principles that maybe some others can't see at face value with Donald Trump. What I wanted to mention is that he obviously borrowed a lot of money for some of the properties he owns. Okay, I've studied real estate. I'm no real estate guru, but I've studied quite a bit when it comes to the topic of real estate, and I understand how you have to operate to take out certain types of loans and all this type of thing. And with him, he has such huge loans for some of his properties. He owns casinos, he owns massive hotels, he owns a lot of things, golf courses, and he has these banks extended to a point to where if he failed, they fail. Okay, now obviously the elite are bankers. Now, of course, they can print money too, right? Obviously, the Fed can print money. Now, obviously, $1 billion is not the same thing as $1 trillion, right? But the fact is, if you look at our economy, it's about ready to crumble as it is. And having someone like Donald Trump as your enemy, especially for the elite, is not good at this point. Now, just try to put yourself in these elite bankers' shoes, okay? You just loaned a guy $100 million. We're not talking about a $10,000 loan, $100,000 loan. We're talking a freaking $100 million, okay? If he goes on belly under, you go belly under. This is basically what we're talking about here. So when we have the elite actually in a position to where they could lose something, they're not going to want to, go against Donald Trump. In a sense, it's not as if one controls the other one, but more so, they both got the goods on each other. And it's kind of like China and America. America can't just go and fight China because we buy everything from China. And China can't just come and fight us because they sell us everything. You see what I'm saying? We have sort of a mutual beneficial relationship, and if we attack the other one, then we're both screwed. Okay, because both are financial prosperity is based on each other. So this is kind of what I think is going on with Donald Trump. Okay, I don't think he can. I don't think the elite can control him necessarily. I don't think they can, and this is very disturbing to him. Now, of course, if they can't control, maybe this could lead to something like what happened with JFK, where he was killed. I don't know. I mean, it's possible if he did become president, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Now, there's other conspiracies surrounding Donald Trump. We have the fact that he's a distant relative of Hillary Clinton, and some people say, well, they're friends, and he's trying to throw the election, that he's going to basically become third party when the Republicans don't put him as their candidate, you know. And then he would become third party, and then he would basically suck away all the votes from the Republican candidates, and then we get Hillary Clinton as president instead, you know. I don't think so. I don't think Donald Trump is playing this type of card. I don't think he's trying to do that. It doesn't make any sense for him to have so much success. He didn't know he was going to have this success. He didn't have success the last time. The last time he ran for president, he didn't have nearly nothing, not even remotely any success compared to what he has this time. So he didn't know what was going to happen. And, you know, now that he has all this success, and he's clearly saying what his own mind, because, and let me tell you why he's saying his own mind. Besides the obvious fact, if you're good at reading people, it's pretty obvious that he's not just making this stuff up. He doesn't sound like a politician. He sounds like he's speaking his own mind. That's just one. But more importantly, and far more greater of an evidence, would be the fact that he has this multi-billion-dollar business, and it's detrimental to his business to say politically incorrect stuff and to say half the stuff he's been saying that's been controversial. The only type of person that would do something like that is someone who actually believes in what he's saying. Okay, if he didn't believe in what he's saying, there's no reason to do what he's doing. You see, he's a businessman. He's all about what can he get out of this. Will he make a profit? Will he get ahead somehow? What would be the point of saying things that would hurt his business if he didn't really believe it? Okay, the only time he would do that is if he really loved this country and really wanted to change it and bring it back to what it was, or actually better than what it was. This is the only time you would say something like this. Okay, so that clearly shows to me that he's not controlled opposition, because that's retarded. I mean, are you telling me that Donald Trump's getting paid extra money from the elite to say this stuff and be a controlled shill? That doesn't even make any sense. The guy's already a multi-billionaire. Why does he need their money? See, businessmen take pride in what they built. Okay, Donald Trump takes great pride in what he built. He takes great pride in what he believes in. Okay, he's not going to sell out to destroy his whole. He's not going to sell out to his own principles and destroy his own business in the process as well, to become a shill for the elite. If anything, I think he would be saying, you know, look, I know what's going on here, which I think he does. I've seen some information pointing to that he's actually been in the know for a long time, that he's a truther, but he's sort of a secret or hidden truther. He doesn't exactly go out and shout it from the mountaintops, because he has a business to run. He has to play a game. He has to play the game he's in. He's in the game of business, so he can't just go around saying stuff while he's building these businesses. He has to have a certain decorum with different people. So I think he was trying to build himself up to a point to where he could do this right now, what he's doing. And that's why he was in those pictures with Hillary, being all nice and stuff, is because he has to be that way. He's a businessman. He's trying to make agreements, make contracts. He has to make contacts. The business savviness side of him is kicked in when he's doing this stuff. He can't go around talking conspiracy when he's trying to build his business. Especially with people that are potential clients. It doesn't make. It's retarded. You have to understand that he's doing two things here. He's running a business, and now he's going into politics. So now that he's in politics, he's thinking about how can he save this country. So he puts on a different hat. Now, like I was saying in the beginning of this video, I actually was going to make this video kind of, I was on the fence and I was leaning towards him being controlled opposition, but the more I researched him, the more I've come to the conclusion he's not. Because everything lines up behind the concept of him being genuine. And I've already presented some reasons why I think he's genuine. And some of the reasons that are presented as to why he's not genuine don't make any sense. I mean, relying on a Simpson episode, to decide the political future of America is not exactly what I call the wisest, decision, okay? I mean, I take that into consideration. I even made a video about that, about the fact there was a Simpson episode that predicted that Donald Trump would be president, and that under his leadership, we would have a failed economy. It would be a disaster. Now, they might have been, the elite might have known that Donald Trump wanted to become president and maybe that he would run in the future, and maybe they thought it would be too late. So they just, this is sort of the conclusion. It doesn't mean that, Donald Trump was planned from the beginning to become president and he knew he would win and then he would make sure the economy just was destroyed and in shambles. It's retarded. I mean, think about it. This guy, why would he want to destroy a country that made him wealthy? Why would he want to destroy his own business? Why would he spend so much time building up his business all these years so that he can destroy it? Does that even make any sense? Would you spend 30, 40 years of your life building an empire and then, let's nuke the empire I built? Doesn't make any sense, does it? No, it doesn't. So you have to ask yourself, do these conclusions make sense? Truthers are usually known for going certain directions. They think certain things, they go certain ways of investigating, but you have to sit back and ask yourself some questions. Do these things even make any sense? You have to take everything into consideration. You have to balance out all the arguments, and you have to figure out what makes the most sense in the end. Some say that if Donald Trump became president, that it'd be the next reign of Hitler. It'd be the Fourth Reich, and then Donald Trump would take away our freedoms and all this kind of stuff. I don't think so. I think maybe if one of the other people get in power, maybe that might happen. Like if Hillary got in power, or maybe some of the other controlled opposition get into power. I don't think, of course, all the Republican ticket are controlled opposition. I think Ted Cruz and Ben Carson are decent candidates. I'm not exactly following this in great detail. I'm not like, some massive political junkie or something. Some years ago I was kind of really into politics, but I'm not as much as I used to be. I've just been following some of what they've said and some of the debate stuff and things of that nature. But based on what I've been listening to, I'm really into some of the things Donald Trump's been saying, assuming he's behind the words he's actually saying, and assuming that he's legitimate and credible, which is hard to believe. That I'm very cynical about these type of political candidates usually. I usually think they're full of crap, and I think they're usually lying 9 times out of 10. But in the case of Donald Trump, he's not a career politician, and theoretically, he's actually someone who could have enough money to break through the whole system of this political game without being controlled opposition. He's about the only person who could break through, who has enough money to actually finance his whole campaign, which would take a lot of money, without taking elite handouts or special interest handouts or lobbyist handouts or whatever. He can actually finance his entire campaign and speak his own mind, and at the same time not have to worry about his business, because he's borrowed so much money from the elite that if he fails, they fail. That's the way I look at it. He's like the only guy who could do this, pretty much. And he's pulling it off. So, if what we do know is that if he's not controlled opposition, you'll probably end up dead eventually, unless he has a lot of security. Then maybe there'll be a bunch of events where someone tried to kill him, and failed, like Ronald Reagan or something. But I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. So this is just kind of my thoughts on it. I'm not saying that, I'm kind of cautious about this whole thing. I'm behind Donald Trump, but I'm not like, hey, I totally 100% excited, trust him 100%. I'm cautious because I've had so many times where I've thought, someone was running for office and they were good, and then they end up basically backstabbing you and not doing anything they said they would do. Generally, it's a career politician that would do this, and that's generally who runs for office. But I'm thinking in this case, we have a sort of a special circumstance. We have someone who has his own money, and he can say whatever he wants. So